I grew up in a house with many rooms. Two girls were raised under the same roof, fed from the same kitchen, and called by the same blood. But the rules were never the same. This is not just a story of envy. It is a story of silence, survival, and the quiet places where hatred learns to smile. Before you judge the ending, come and see how it began. Sit down, sip your coffee. Let me tell you my story. My mother died on a Tuesday. I remember that detail clearly because Tuesdays were her favorite days. She used to say they were quiet enough to think and busy enough to forget your worries. I didn't know then that some days don't let you forget anything. When she died, I didn't just lose a parent. I lost direction. There was no dramatic goodbye, no long speech, just a morning where she didn't wake up and an afternoon where everyone suddenly started speaking in soft voices as if volume could change reality. I was young, too young to understand death properly, but old enough to understand what came after it. They said I couldn't stay alone. They said it wasn't safe. They said I was lucky. That word, lucky, followed me everywhere. So, I was sent to live with my aunt. My aunt was rich, very rich, the kind of rich people whisper about with admiration and envy mixed together. Big house, clean floors, quiet generators, food that never finished. From the outside, it looked like rescue. From the inside, it felt like relocation. The first night, everyone welcomed me warmly, smiles, sympathy, long prayers, promises. By the second week, the house had already decided who I was. I became the one who woke up first, the one who swept before anyone noticed death, the one who washed plates that were never mine, the one who learned quickly that gratitude was safer than questions. Nobody said, "You are the help," but nobody said, "You are our child," either. My cousin Tina lived in the same house, same roof, same food, same bloodline, different rules. Tina didn't wake up early, she didn't wash plates, she didn't lower her voice when adults spoke. Why should she? She was the daughter. Sometimes my aunt would look at me while I walked and sigh, not in anger, in comparison. She would say things like, "Stella is so respectful. Stella is so intelligent. Stella doesn't talk back." And then she would turn to Tina, smile, and give her whatever she wanted. I learned something important in that house. Praise does not always come with protection. I didn't hate Tina, not at first. I was too busy surviving. I told myself I was content, that this was temporary, that hard work would speak for me. After all, I had food, I had shelter, I had school. So I kept quiet. Because when you are living on someone else's mercy, silence feels like rent. But looking back now, I see it clearly. That house did not just teach me discipline. It taught me how jealousy begins, slowly, quietly, smiling at you across the dining table. And at the time, I had no idea what it was growing into. They say children don't notice tension. They are wrong, because that was the house where I learned something that would later cost us everything. You don't need to be cruel to plant hatred. You only need to compare. Living in my aunt's house taught me early that fairness and kindness are not twins. They sometimes look alike, but they do not grow up together. On paper, Tina and I were cousins. In reality, we were an experiment in contrast. Every morning, I woke up before the house did. Not because anyone told me to, but because I understood the unspoken rule. If I moved first, I wouldn't be blamed later. I swept the living room quietly, careful not to wake anyone. I washed plates from the night before, even when my hands were still stiff with sleep. Tina, on the other hand, woke up when her body felt ready to join the world. Sometimes that was 10 in the morning, sometimes it was almost noon. When she finally came out of her room, stretching like royalty, nobody asked her why. Nobody reminded her that work existed. Her breakfast waited patiently as if time itself respected her comfort. I used to watch her and wonder how two girls could breathe the same air and live such different lives. Tina spoke loudly. I spoke carefully. Tina questioned adults. I answered with yes ma and thank you. Tina demanded. I waited. And somehow this imbalance became normal. My aunt loved to talk about discipline. She admired it deeply, especially when she saw it in me. Sometimes she would call neighbors or relatives just to show me off. Look at Stella, she would say. So calm, so respectful, so intelligent. People would nod, praise would float around the room like perfume. Then Tina would interrupt, complain, or roll her eyes, and my aunt would laugh it off. She's just expressive, my aunt would say. She knows her rights. I didn't know then that rights without responsibility grow into entitlement. Sometimes my aunt would sigh and say something that always confused me. I wish Tina could be more like you. She said it as a compliment, but it never came with correction. That sentence didn't change Tina, it changed me. Because every time she said it, Tina heard something different. She didn't hear be better, she heard you are being compared. And comparison is not advice, it is fuel. At first, Tina ignored me. She treated me like background noise, something that existed but didn't matter. That was fine by me. I preferred invisibility to conflict. But gradually, her indifference shifted. She began to watch me. She noticed how I spoke politely to visitors, how I finished chores without being asked, how teachers greeted me warmly when they visited the house. She noticed how adults trusted me with small responsibilities. And for the first time, I felt it. Not anger, not hatred, something colder, resentment. I remember one evening clearly. I had just finished washing plates. Tina walked into the kitchen, glanced at the clean sink and smiled. "You like working too much," she said casually. I smiled back. "I don't mind." She laughed, not kindly. "That's because you don't know better." At the time, I didn't understand what she meant. Now, I do. She believed effort was a punishment. I believed effort was survival. That difference alone placed us on opposite sides of the same house. Still, I told myself things would change with time, that when school started, we would become equals. After all, school is supposed to reward effort, right? I was wrong. School didn't just reveal our differences, it magnified them. And it gave Tina something she had never needed before, a reason. They say jealousy starts with hatred. In my experience, it starts with watching. And once Tina began to watch me closely, I didn't realize I had already become her problem. Secondary school did something our house never managed to do. It put Tina and me on the same starting line. Same uniform, same classrooms, same teachers. For the first time, there were no chores to separate us, no early mornings or late nights to define our roles. We were just two students sitting in the same rows, answering the same questions. At least, that was how it looked. The truth revealed itself quickly. I had always loved learning, but I never thought of it as a talent. To me, studying was just another form of preparation, like sweeping early so nobody could accuse you later. So when teachers started calling my name, I was surprised. Not because I didn't know the answers, but because someone finally noticed. "Stella, come and solve this. Stella, explain your reasoning. Stella, represent the class." Every time they said my name, I felt a mix of pride and fear. Pride because I had earned it, fear because attention has consequences, especially when you share a house with someone who believes praise is a limited resource. Tina struggled in school, not because she wasn't capable, but because she had never been required to try. When effort has never been demanded of you, discipline feels like an insult. She laughed during lessons, talked back to teachers, dismissed assignments like they were optional. At home, she blamed the teachers. They don't like me, she would say. They like you because you pretend too much. I didn't know what pretending she meant. I was just myself. Then came the competitions. The school announced an academic contest. Debate, quizzes, public speaking. My teachers encouraged me to participate. I didn't even tell anyone at home at first. I was used to doing things quietly. But when my name was announced in assembly, there was nowhere to hide. I represented the school. I stood on stages I had never imagined, spoke in rooms where people listened. For the first time in my life, I was not just surviving, I was visible. The applause followed me home, and so did Tina's silence. She stopped talking to me unless necessary. She stopped joking. She stopped pretending not to care. Her eyes did the talking now. They followed me when relatives visited. They watched when neighbors congratulated me. They narrowed when teachers mentioned my name. One afternoon, I heard her crying in her room. Not the loud kind of crying that seeks comfort, the quiet kind that feeds on itself. My aunt tried to console her. "You are still young," she said. "You will find your own way." But Tina didn't want her own way. She wanted mine. I felt it clearly the day I graduated. I passed with flying colors. Not just good results, exceptional ones. Teachers spoke about me with pride. My name was written on lists that mattered. And then came the scholarship. A full one. University. No loans, no favors, no family connections. Just merit. When the letter arrived, my aunt held it like something fragile. She smiled. She hugged me. She congratulated me. Tina watched from the doorway. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She smiled. And that smile frightened me more than anger ever could. Because it wasn't disappointment, it was calculation.
That scholarship didn't just change my future. It changed Tina's perception of me, from cousin to competitor. And competition does not end where family begins. The scholarship did more than pay for my education. It moved me, not just from one school to another, but from one version of myself to another. University felt like a different planet. People spoke freely, ideas mattered, effort was respected. For the first time in my life, nobody cared whose house I came from or what chores I did before sunrise. They cared about what I could do. I threw myself into it. I studied late, asked questions, took chances. When opportunities came, I didn't wait to be invited twice. I had spent too much of my life waiting. That was how I found myself traveling. Not for leisure, not for luxury, for representation. Academic programs, conferences, exchange opportunities, short trips abroad where my passport filled faster than my fear could keep up. Each time I traveled, I remembered the girl who once washed plates quietly in a house that wasn't hers. Each stamp felt like proof that survival had turned into progress. At home, things were changing. My aunt loved to tell people about me. "Stella is doing very well," she would say proudly. "She travels now. Very serious girl." I noticed something ironic about that. When I was washing plates, my discipline was expected. When I started winning, it became impressive. Tina, meanwhile, stayed exactly where she was. Same habits, same excuses, same anger wrapped in entitlement. She dropped out of school briefly, went back, dropped out again. Nothing ever stuck. Not because she wasn't capable, but because nobody had ever insisted she be responsible for herself. She still had everything: money, comfort, connections. But for the first time, she lacked something she desperately wanted: respect. People spoke about me differently now. Not just as the quiet one or the respectful girl, but as someone with direction, someone going places. And Tina heard every word. I felt the shift in the house whenever I visited. Her greetings were polite but hollow. Her smiles were sharp at the edges. She asked questions that sounded like concern, but tasted like interrogation. How is abroad? Are they really treating you well there? You think all this will last? I answered calmly, because I had learnt long ago that explaining yourself to envy only feeds it. Then, on one of those trips, I met him. His name didn't matter at first. What mattered was how he listened. He wasn't impressed by noise. He didn't talk over people. He asked thoughtful questions and waited for answers. He was successful, not in the loud, attention-seeking way, but in the quiet way that comes from consistency. We started talking, then writing, then planning, slowly, carefully. When he came to visit, everything felt natural. No rush, no pressure, just clarity. Marriage was discussed the way mature people discuss it, without drama, without desperation. For the first time, I allowed myself to imagine stability without struggle. I brought him home. That was my mistake. Tina noticed him immediately. Not because he was handsome, though he was. Not because he was wealthy, though he was comfortable, but because it was mine. The way she looked at us together was different from before. This wasn't resentment anymore. This was hunger. I saw it in the way she suddenly took interest in my life, asked too many questions, wanted details she had never cared about. She laughed louder, dressed sharper, positioned herself closer. At first, I dismissed it. After all, she had always wanted what she saw. But this time, she wanted to take. And the day I realized that she was no longer just watching my life, but planning to enter it, was the day I understood that success doesn't just attract admiration, it attracts predators.
I thought jealousy would hurt me through words or distance. I didn't know it could reach into someone else's heart and rewrite it. People think jealousy announces itself loudly. They imagine shouting, fights, insults thrown like stones. But the most dangerous jealousy I have ever known was polite. It smiled at me. It asked how my day went. It offered to help me pack my bags. Tina didn't confront me. She studied me. She watched how I spoke to him, how I laughed, how I trusted easily. She learned my rhythm the way a thief learns a house, not to admire it, but to enter it unnoticed. At first, nothing changed. He still called me, still checked in, still spoke about the future with the same calm certainty. Then, the pauses started. Short ones at first, harmless, the kind you excuse because life happens. I was busy. I forgot to call back. I'll explain later. I believed him, because when you've spent most of your life earning affection, you don't assume betrayal quickly. You assume misunderstanding. Tina, meanwhile, became unusually gentle. She stopped mocking me, stopped competing openly, started agreeing with everything I said. She even defended me in front of others. "Leave Stella alone," she'd say. "She's trying her best." That was when I should have been afraid, because Tina had never defended me before. One evening, I overheard my aunt praising me again. "Stella is focused," she said. "She knows what she wants." Tina smiled. Then she said something that sounded innocent. "Some people get everything without trying," she said lightly. "Maybe it's just luck." Luck. That word again. A few weeks later, things changed completely. He stopped being himself. He laughed at nothing. Long, empty laughter that made conversations feel hollow. He forgot important meetings, ignored responsibilities, spoke in circles. At first, I thought he was tired or stressed, but stress doesn't erase character. He began to look at me strangely, as if trying to remember why he once loved me. His affection didn't fade gradually. It shifted toward Tina. I didn't understand how or why. She suddenly occupied his thoughts, his attention, his loyalty. And the strangest part? She didn't even look pleased. She looked unsettled. He stopped going to his shop regularly. Money no longer mattered to him. Structure no longer held him. He drifted through days like someone half awake. Tina began to complain. "This is not what I wanted," she whispered to me one night, forgetting herself. I stared at her. I asked, "What do you mean?" She froze, smiled, said nothing, just tired. But I saw it then. She hadn't stolen love. She had broken balance. And whatever she had done to take him from me had taken something from him too. I later learned the truth in pieces. Tina had gone somewhere quietly, spoken to someone she never mentioned, asked for help she didn't understand. She wanted him to choose her. She didn't ask what the price would be, because people who believe they deserve everything never ask about consequences. And when the charm worked, when his will bent, Tina realized something too late. Control does not come with instructions, and it does not know when to stop. Tina wanted love. What she got was a man who no longer belonged to himself. And that was when fear replaced envy and regret knocked on her door. Fear has a sound. It's not loud. It doesn't scream. It settles into a person's voice when they realize control has slipped through their fingers. That was the sound Tina started making. At first, she tried to hide it. She still dressed well, still posted pictures, still laughed too loudly when visitors came around. But behind closed doors, the cracks were obvious. He no longer behaved like a man in love. He behaved like a man unanchored. Some days, he would sit for hours staring at nothing, smiling at thoughts no one else could see. Other days, he laughed so hard at the smallest joke that it made people uncomfortable. He stopped caring about his shop. This was the same man who once planned every hour of his day, who knew the value of time, who took pride in building something with his hands. Now, days passed without purpose. Money stopped coming in, bills piled up quietly. Tina complained, then pleaded, then shouted. Nothing worked. Whatever had bent his affection had also loosened his grip on reality. That was when Tina began to panic. "This is not how it was supposed to be," she said one evening, pacing the living room. "He was meant to love me, just me, not become like this." I listened without speaking. Because what do you say to someone who has finally realized that stealing a life doesn't mean you know how to live it? She started disappearing for long hours. At first, she claimed it was shopping, then meetings, then nothing at all. One night, she came home looking exhausted, not physically but spiritually, like someone who had argued with forces that do not negotiate. I didn't need her to confess. I already knew. There are some truths you don't hear with your ears. You feel them settle into your chest. She had gone back to where it started, to ask for reversal. But reversal is a funny word. It assumes what was taken can simply be returned. She told me later in fragments, half crying, half angry. The woman who helped her had warned her. "You asked for influence," she had said. "You did not ask for peace." Tina was told that what she wanted could not be undone easily, that balance had been disturbed, that what was forced would demand something in return. That was when Tina finally understood something I had known my whole life. Shortcuts cost more than effort. Meanwhile, I was shrinking. Not physically, emotionally. Watching someone you once loved unravel is not dramatic. It is exhausting. It drains empathy you didn't know was limited. I stopped arguing, stopped explaining, stopped hoping. I realized that staying meant being pulled into a storm I didn't create and couldn't control. So I made a decision that shocked everyone. I stepped back, quietly. No announcement, no accusations, no public breakdown. I walked away, because sometimes survival doesn't look like fighting back. It looks like choosing not to drown with people who jumped into deep water willingly. Tina watched me pack. For the first time in her life, she didn't mock me. She looked at me with something close to fear. Maybe she finally saw it, that taking what isn't yours doesn't make you rich. It makes you responsible. And responsibility, when you've never carried it before, can crush you. I thought leaving would end my pain. I didn't know it would only begin Tina's. Because what followed next wasn't loss, it was reckoning. People think consequences arrive like punishment. They imagined sudden loss, public disgrace, one dramatic moment where everything collapses at once. That's not how it happened for Tina. What happened was slower, more humiliating, more final. The man she fought so hard to steal did not return to normal. Not after the panic, not after the pleas, not after the money spent trying to fix what should never have been forced. Instead, he faded. Not physically, but mentally. He became unreliable, forgetful, detached from reality in ways that frightened even those who once admired him. Some days he was overly cheerful, laughing at shadows. Other days he was withdrawn, suspicious, angry without direction. Friends stopped visiting. Business partners stopped calling. Respect evaporated quietly. Tina tried everything. She nagged him. She threatened him. She cried in front of him. Nothing worked. Love that is stolen does not come with loyalty. Control does not come with stability. Soon, money became a problem. Bills that once paid themselves now waited impatiently. Tina started selling things, not because she wanted to, but because reality doesn't care about pride. The clothes she once flaunted disappeared one by one. The phone upgrade stopped. The outings ended. She began to look tired. Not the busy rich girl tired, but the exhausted kind that comes from carrying a life you never prepared for. I watched from a distance, not with joy, not with revenge, with clarity. My aunt tried to intervene. She spoke to Tina gently at first, then sharply. But even she was learning a painful lesson. Indulgence raises children who collapse under responsibility. For the first time, Tina had consequences that money could not silence. And then came the most painful part. People stopped envying her. They stopped admiring her life and started whispering about it. Conversations changed tone. Sympathy replaced jealousy. And sympathy is a cruel thing for someone raised on entitlement. Tina noticed. She began to isolate herself. The same girl who once demanded attention now avoided it. The same girl who mocked effort now struggled under it. One evening, she came to see me. Not angry, not proud, broken. "I just wanted what you had," she said quietly. "I didn't think it would turn out like this." I looked at her for a long time. Then I said the only honest thing I could. "I worked for what I had," I told her. "You tried to skip the work." She cried. Not because she missed me, but because she finally understood the difference. I left that conversation knowing something important. Some lessons can only be learned when comfort is gone. And Tina was finally uncomfortable. I thought her suffering would bring closure. I was wrong. Because the final lesson wasn't for Tina. It was for me. Healing did not arrive the way I imagined. There was no sudden relief, no dramatic moment where everything made sense. Just a slow return to myself. The version of me that existed before envy entered my life like an uninvited guest. I rebuilt quietly. No announcements, no explanations, no need to prove anything. I focused on my work, on my growth, on the discipline that had once kept me alive and now began to set me free. I learned to enjoy peace without suspicion, to laugh without waiting for something to go wrong. For a long time, I carried guilt. Not because I had done something wrong, but because I had survived something others didn't know how to endure. Survival has a strange side effect. It teaches you restraint, where others learn entitlement. I saw Tina occasionally. She looked smaller now, not in body, but in presence. Life had reduced her noise to a whisper. She spoke carefully, moved cautiously, as if the world had finally introduced itself without apology. We didn't argue. We didn't reconcile either. Some stories don't end in forgiveness. They end in understanding. I understood that Tina was not evil. She was untreated, raised on indulgence, shielded from effort, protected from consequence. And when reality finally arrived, it did not knock gently. I also understood something else, something harder. Not everyone who hurts you does so because they hate you. Some do it because your existence reminds them of everything they refuse to become. I stopped measuring my life against hers. I stopped asking why she chose envy. Because the truth is simple. Character is built when no one is watching. Entitlement grows when everyone is watching and no one corrects. Today, I live differently. I choose people who value effort over shortcuts, peace over performance, growth over appearance. And when people ask me how I survived everything I went through, I give them an answer that surprises them. I tell them this: I didn't win because I was better. I won because I didn't try to steal a life I didn't build. That is the lesson I carry forward. Not bitterness, not pride, just clarity.
Before you go, ask yourself, honestly, are you building a life that's truly yours or reaching for one that someone else paid the price to create? If this story lingered with you, if it made you pause, reflect, or see yourself differently, then don't forget to like the video and subscribe. This is where we tell stories that move slowly but stay with you. Stories about envy, growth, silence, survival, and the quiet places where truth waits. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.